What's up, everyone? This week has been a doozy. On our plate for this week, who will be the next boss at PlayStation now that Jim Ryan is retiring? Epic Games lays off almost 900 people because of money, really the lack of it. We talk about the leaked details about the next Far Cry game. Fable devs roll critical success in grabbing a Baldur's Gate 3 producer. All this and more on Season 7, Episode 38 of Press X Start Gamers Digest. I got dice rolls in my head. Crazy. What's up, everyone? I'm your host, DJ, a.k.a. Sexy Bad Choices, a.k.a. all I need is a 16 right here on this dice roll so I can figure out what this person's talking about. And then I get a critical failure. And my heart hurts. I am joined by
John MF Ross.
Ooh, what does the MF stand for?
I just won a Super Bowl.
Oh. Wait, is it like a bigger bowl than normal? Or is it like
No. I'm just going to Disney World next week. You know, back in the day, people used to say after they won the Super Bowl, what are you going to do next? I'm going to Disney World. Like, show my age. I'm sorry.
Hey, if you see Mickey, let him know about the podcast.
Sean, they still do that. They still do that at the end of games.
Black.
Last up but not least up,
it's your boy Jordan, aka JXBot, aka the NUSA's top asset in Dogtown.
Oh, top asset. Look at that. Mister, take that thing out. All right, now that we guys know who we are. Yes, now that you know who we are. Press X Start Gamers Digest is a video podcast that condenses the most important gaming news from this past week into an hour-long meal just for you. We are live on YouTube every Sunday at 5 p.m. Yeah, we're close enough. What's up? You good? You ready to talk about some games? It's going to be a mixture of the bad first and then the good if we have time. But the bad is really like important. I mean, it's always good, but mainly the bad. Anyways, don't forget, you can support us by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and hit the notification bell. If you want, we'd greatly appreciate you leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or the podcast services you are currently tuned in on. And if you want, again, ×2, you can join our conversations by going to our Discord at pressx2start.com/Discord. All right. Now that you have all that and we have that out the way, let us jump into the gaming news. Number one, the big thing for the week. Jim Ryan is retiring from PlayStation. PlayStation's beloved CEO, Jim Ryan, will be officially retiring come March of 2024. How did you guys take this news?
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Oh, daddy boy, the pipes are calling. Yep.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
I don't know if our audience will catch that reference.
Sean, how'd you take this news?
I don't give a shit. Like, I don't think he...
Oh, man.
How much influence, like, I wonder how much he actually, like, steered.
Well, I mean, he was a CEO, so all the decisions had to go through him.
I understand that, but
he was their primary strategist.
It's not like he's coming up with many of the decisions that happens. They're running past his desk. He says yes or no.
Well, I mean, DJ, if you want to go into the article, it's not
like he's a Steve Jobs type,
No. He's not like a visionary or anything like that. But he was the president of the PlayStation department.
Words, so he's definitely not a visionary.
And I mean, the further we get away from this, we'll get a better understanding of the why. But there are small nuggets of the why that we've all experienced as consumers this summer. Jim Ryan was going in on lives as a service. He was transforming their output. Not all the way to it, but what the ratio people are saying, like 60-40, 80-20 or whatever. So, I mean... and like going back to old articles with that guy, like he wants to expand to mobile, he wants to expand to PC. He hates that his software was only on one device. Like, he went on record saying that he doesn't like that single device centeredness because basic economics will tell you the more access points for software, the better you are in terms of your revenue margin. So, yeah, I mean, it's I will say this is not the most ideal moment for someone at that position, at least within the generation, to leave, because Sean Layden left at the end of the last generation, and we're able to build up on that with new Spider-Mans, new Last of Us's, new God of War's, and new Horizon Forbidden West for sure. So
the pros of this is hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, hey, there's an interim. I've been a part of organizations that have had extreme turnover at the executive, and it can be disruptive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, hey, look, guys, it's me, DJ, aka Sexy Bad Choices. If you have followed the podcast for, I don't know, like 3 months at least, I'm not that big of a Jim Ryan fan. And to see that he is stepping down and retiring, I took this as very good news. I think at the end of the day, he did a fantastic job at not completely ruining PlayStation. Like people not often, people, this week we're talking about, Jim Ryan made PlayStation even more successful, X, Y, and Z. And I look at it in terms of the success of PlayStation, especially PlayStation 5. If you compare PlayStation 5 to PlayStation 4, there's not that much newness in that other than the SSD. So it's more so he made sure that the PS5 can continue playing high quality games. And on the actual software side, he just made sure PlayStation continued pushing the first party games. So he just kind of kept the ship going straight. Like to Jordan talking about Jim Ryan kind of making this push for games of service stuff, be that being not late, but like late into his tenure as CEO, seeing how he's retiring next year. It does leave a bad taste in my mouth in particular that he is setting up this stuff. There was an article talking about how it's not on our show notes for today, but there was an article saying how like devs aren't necessarily happy about having to jump into games of service because we know that that's often
what
hit and
happened
miss.
with Redfall.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
not just there are success stories with live service, but it's not their.
But there's more failures than successes.
It's not their wheelhouse. You're not going to ask Insomniac or any of them to immediately go into Naughty Dog was told to go back inside the kitchen.
I was about to talk about Naughty Dog
with that dish by Bungie.
Naughty Dog is literally their like AAA, like quadruple A studio, and they said, "Hey, you make a Factions 2, not even make a Factions 1." They have experience making a multiplayer game that people generally like, and they took that, they moved forward, they made a thing, and Bungie, who makes a different multiplayer game, was like, no, this is not going to work. And now they've essentially either scrapped the game or is going to put it into the next Last of Us thing. So it's just like there was so much money that went into that, and I'm pretty sure, for lack of better words, that's kind of egg on Jim Ryan's face. And then we have the state of play earlier this year that was not great. It showed a lot of stuff, not really solid gameplay. It ended with a safe bet Spider-Man, and it just didn't go well. I don't think it did really well for the wider consumer audience. So him retiring now, it definitely feels like, okay, yeah, you made a bet, didn't work out too well. Like now it's probably a good time to retire. In the article, he's been at Sony for about 30 years. So he's had a long time with this company. And the flip side to it is that for him, Jim Ryan, it's been difficult to have that work-life balance because he has to fly over to the US often because he is the CEO of PlayStation. And PlayStation America is really big. So he I think one of his quotes said he's missed a lot of his child's birthdays, and like that's
unfortunate.
Yeah, so it's just like it kind of makes sense that he would like to be able to stay in the UK or EU.
I mean, it might have been the potential incoming burnout, because like the direct competitor of PlayStation and Xbox, they do have, well, at least if the ABK deal goes through, or soon to go through, ABK deal, that means that Xbox would have 3 live to service games that are first party: Halo Infinite, Call of Duty. Yeah, no, I mean, hey, as much as we laugh about Halo, Sony would love to have a first person shooter that has any type of success. So, like, that's what they were pushing for with this live service thing. They're trying to get out as many as possible to have their own in-house first party live service game, with Xbox having 3 right now. Call of Duty, Overwatch, and Halo Infinite.
I don't know. I think, I mean, out of those 3, obviously the strongest one is Call of Duty.
Of course, Call of Duty is the strongest one, but I mean, I'm just saying Sony.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
there
Sony currently has
live service things.
Sony currently has Destiny, which is technically a first party right now, but they were clear in making it transparent about the relationship that Bungie has under Sony's stewardship.
Like technically, Destiny is multi-platform.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just that I believe Marathon actually might not. I think Marathon might be exclusive to PlayStation, because there was some statement about when Sony bought them or whatever, engaged in whatever kind of partnership they have, that their current games will stay multi-platform, but then there's a chance that whole multi-platform thing can change in their future games, and Marathon is a future game. So just to get back onto the whole Jim Ryan retirement. It's not exclusive?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, there you go. So yeah, like, it's one of those things where I think for Jim Ryan, this is probably a good time for him to retire, because he gets to, because when he first came on the PlayStation, he did a couple of things that wasn't necessarily great. Like, he essentially restructured the internal workings of PlayStation to fit more of the EU side, and he put Herman Holtz was a pretty good pick to put as global partner for games or something like that. But like, Herman Holtz is another EU person, so Jim Ryan was doing his EU thing, which is fine. But he was at the start of the PS5, so now him leaving now, and then them working on getting another CEO, he doesn't have to worry about, as Jordan was saying, the next console cycle, or like figuring out PlayStation successful. How could we keep PlayStation successful? And like, that seems like a simple answer, but there's a lot of inner workings that go on to continue the cycle of games that PlayStation has. So he don't have to worry about that. So it's like, okay, good on him. He left when PlayStation 5 is doing like extremely well. So that looks good on him.
Yeah, and like I don't know, like, looking back at what his focus was, he did have some responsibility in terms of success of the VR, at least providing some type of software that made it a more compelling peripheral, and that wasn't heavily invested in. And people are still, timid, or like, people are still apprehensive towards the PlayStation Portable, or what's it called again?
PlayStation Portal. I
PlayStation Portal. So like, there's stuff like that he, like, there was a green light on. I mean, even though, like, okay, that was Sony hardware, as PlayStation proper, he had some type of responsibility in making sure that hardware was cultivated and supported. And I still don't. I mean, it's the middle of the fall. There isn't like this PSVR banger out right now. Like, the biggest game on PlayStation VR 2 was the Horizon game that came out with it. Like, what has there been since then?
There really hasn't. And like, the hope was we would get an Astro Boy, or Astrobot, not Astro Boy. An Astrobot game, because that was like a killer like VR title, but we haven't got anything from that. And like, I will say that the PSVR stuff, I always look at that as like a Sony pushing it on the PlayStation, because it's like hardware, and Sony loves their hardware, and PlayStation's like, we don't necessarily need this. But then looking at how PlayStation is supporting it, it does seem like, this wasn't necessarily a PlayStation initiative. This is
If you're gonna charge me $600 for it, man, I mean, you're already charging us $500 for the console, right? You pay $600 for that thing. You should be able to give us a little bit extra support for it. I'm just saying, you know.
You would think, but yeah. All right, so that's pretty much that. You know, I guess he's not dead, so don't pour one out for Jim Ryan. But,
no, she's all right.
Oh, the one thing that I want to say and I find absolutely hilarious, we can actually go around the table like who we think would be a cool CEO for PlayStation. Kind of funny crew, specifically Greg Miller. Literally within the hour that this news broke of Jim Ryan retiring, he got I guess he got Andy from Kind of Funny to make a shirt that says "Shoe for President." And if you don't know who Shoe is, that's Shuhei Yoshida, and he is back in the like Sean Layden like time. There we had he's still at PlayStation, but Shuhei Yoshida was like. Right now, he's like the indie games like president or something. I forget his actual title, but like he was really like prominent in PlayStation. He was doing a lot of stuff. Like you saw his face in a lot of places, and that was another thing that Jim Ryan did. He removed the faces from PlayStation, so PlayStation was just the brand. So there was no recognizable face to PlayStation. It's nothing I wanted to mention
didn't
before
even
we
want to
jump
be
to the
known
next
like
thing.
that.
Yeah, and then him having to go up, Jim Ryan is just not good with words in a public setting. That's you know, that's fine, you know, as long as he's able to do his job, which he did, and he did a good job. But like this last State of Play, we had the lady, I think her name is Sean something. She was a face for State of Play, which was very different from how they carried their State of Play for the last couple of years. And it is interesting that we finally see a face for a showcase like this. So I'm kind of wondering if that's going to kind of be the start of a change to PlayStation now that Jim Ryan is retiring. But yeah, we'll see. That's just my little speculation. The next thing.
No, to your question of who we think should lead PlayStation.
Yes, I totally forgot.
I would say Herman Hulst, who's the current the president of PlayStation. Well, he's the leader of PlayStation Studios, right? And PlayStation Studios is in Insomniac, Santa Monica, like that's their main development division. Yes. I think that he would do a better job at like, you know, I mean, like not trying to say keeping a status quo, but you know, appreciating the depth PlayStation has and IPs that are dormant that needs to be revived, that can be revived to fit into other genres better. You know, the first-person shooter genre, the third-person shooter drama, the third-person shooter genre, the strategy genre, like really building out that part, you know, and making a more unique first-party experience than the third-person action adventure, which is PlayStation's bread and butter right now.
Right. How about you, Sean? You got anyone?
I don't really have anyone, so I'm gonna just throw one up for Marcus. I'm gonna say Daddy Druckmann. You know, he might do a
and then
job.
My heart, it goes to Shuhei. Like Shuhei is just OG. So yeah, more news. Well, this one is worse than the first one. Epic Games is cutting about 90 jobs or 16% of staff. This comes from Bloomberg.
Not 90 jobs. 900.
Did I say 90? Sorry, almost 900. The exact number is 870 employees will be seeking jobs. So this comes from Jason Schreier from Bloomberg. So basically, Epic Games, the makers of the popular Fortnite video game, is laying off, as I said, 187 employees as it seeks to rein in costs. So this is a quote from them. For a while now, we've been spending way more money than we earn. Chief Executive Officer Tim Sweeney wrote to employees in a memo seen by Bloomberg News. I'm just going to stop right there. I'm going to jump to another thing. Back in 2021, we completely just didn't talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
Epic bought a huge mall, by way of $90 million, 980,000 square foot mall called Cray Town Center. I don't know where it's
in North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He bought it in the height of work from home. the year after the COVID pandemic. Like, this man has been just frivolously spending money in ridiculous ways. He made a bet on Metaverse.
You mean they?
No, I'm saying I'm blaming Tim Sweeney, like the CEO, the man that is okaying the expenditure of money for Epic Games. Like, this is the fact that he said we've been spending more money than we've earned. Yeah, you absolutely have, my guy. Like, it's normal business. You should be spending the money that you can recoup or whatever bullshit that's supposed to be the thing. So, like,
it's not going to
say that out loud.
It's not going to make sense to us on the outside.
So, I mean, what we can comment on is we know that their strategy with Fortnite is trying to keep as current as possible with the biggest pop trend. Like, Fortnite is a pop game machine. Like, all right, the new Transformers was come out. Here's the Transformers shit. And then Ninja Turtles came out. Here's Ninja Turtle shit. So, like, that was a very tight loop for. And I truly hope there's not any burnout over there. But after 100 people laid off, there may be more burnout.
Oh, there's absolutely burnout. There's absolutely burnout.
You know, like getting out, Optimus trying to do the shoot dance and shit, so he doesn't clip to the fucking map.
Yeah.
But like dealing with that type of I believe dealing with that type of game. I think over the last few months, like I mean, I'm not big into Fortnite. But I could totally see people getting a little bit bored with it. Like, we know, like, here's a new big thing. Here's like the tie-in, and I'm not gonna have X amount of time to get this character. Even though I'm glad to see live services are switching away from that. I like people to go back and earn shit, like Call of Duty wants to do, like Halo's currently doing. But with that tight cadence, I think gamers are becoming burnt out too, and not really participating as much as they would in the past for Fortnite stuff.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it because, real quick, this is a person who pretty much never really liked Fortnite once it went multiplayer. I like the single player version of it. Yes, there was a single player version of Fortnite. Hello,
it still is.
Is it? They still saved the world, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like
gone.
Yeah, you can't buy it anymore, but like we still have it. Like it's still relics.
But yeah, so like I've always looked at Fortnite like, oh, this is legitimately the same thing over and over again. Like, the whole building thing was cool, it was fascinating to watch like pro people do the building thing, but like there was always how long is this gonna last when I thought about Fortnite. And this whole Epic thing cutting games, it goes beyond Fortnite because Epic also has Unreal Engine and also has the Epic Game Store. So like there is different places where they are gathering money, and it's like it's not necessarily Fortnite's fault that the Epic Games is laying off people. It is just the expenditure of money and not being responsible about that. Then we also have to look at the fact that during the pandemic in 2020, we saw like record growth for the industry because everyone was at home and, you know, video games are cool. So a lot of people were playing video games. The problem with that is that these studios, these publishers, they just assume that growth was going to carry forward, and they just instead of having a war chest like Nintendo, like Microsoft has their money from their place, but instead of having a war chest like Nintendo, they just kind of, and the money starts to dry up. And then instead of Tim Sweeney doing the thing that one of the Nintendo CEOs did, where they were like, you know what, I'm gonna cut my salary so everyone can stay. He's just like,
no, you can't have that. No.
I don't even know y'all names. So
an American businessman would never do that. I don't see
exactly. And it's just it's so sad to see. Like, I feel so bad for the 870 employees that are going to be affected by this man's just terrible usage of his money, of their money, because they are spending the time to making these products that is ultimately bringing the money in for Tim Sweeney. So yeah, man, it just sucks. And another thing too, Mediatonic, the Fall Guys developer, they've been completely laid off. But Epic turns around and says, "Oh, we're still dedicated to Fall Guys," and it's just like, how are you dedicated to the game when you just laid off the entire development studio? Like, what are you talking about? So it's just terrible all around. All right. The next thing is, we're just gonna do. Hey guys. Just to change the script a little bit. If you're liking this video, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and hit the notification bell, subscribe, and hit the like button. Yeah, do that. Do all those 3 things. I greatly appreciate you doing that. All right, let's jump back into this terrible, just mess of a news. All right, Hideki Kamiya is leaving PlatinumGames. This comes from a VGC by way of wait a minute, Andy Robinson. So, the creator of Bayonetta and Wonderful 101, director Hideki Kamiya, has announced he will be leaving PlatinumGames next month. So, specifically from PlatinumGames, they say, we regret to announce that Kamiya will be leaving PlatinumGames on October 12th, 2023. We are truly grateful for his creative ideas, leadership, and contribution to the growth of PlatinumGames from our startup to this very day. Kamiya not responded to this, but he also said, as announced on the official PlatinumGames X account, X Twitter, I will be leaving PlatinumGames on October 12th. This came after a long consideration based on my own beliefs and was by no means an easy decision to make. He added, however, I feel this outcome is for the best. I will continue to create in my Kamiya way. I hope you'll keep your eyes peeled. So, this sucks for PlatinumGames because a lot of their games was really like exclusively tied with Kamiya in terms of like their Bayonetta games, and I think they have another couple of games that is also tied with Kamiya's like vision. But this feels like, because like the inside part of this is that Kamiya was promoted to vice president, and as you all know, he is a game designer. So for him to be a vice president, he's not really doing the role that he wants to do. So I feel like that's a weird slow push to like quiet firing in a way. So it kind of seems like I think Platinum was trying to just get rid of this guy, but like didn't want to actually fire him. So they just set it up for it's going to be easy for him just to leave. But even with him leaving, he is a very well-renowned developer. I'm pretty sure maybe a Tencent or someone's going to be throwing money at his way to like, hey, set up a studio, we'll pay for it, So we'll see. Yeah. Do you have any feelings about this?
Do you think that we have a Hideo Kojima type situation where, like the talent that was Hideki Kamiya, him leaving, will that lead to a downward trend in the quality of PlatinumGames and he'll make his own studio in defiance?
It remains to be seen.
Yeah,
I mean, what do we think is going to happen? What do we think?
I think that's an interesting question. I think because it's one of the I always look at it as like it takes a room full of people to make a video game. It's not just one person. So,
but like he was
him to leave,
he's a visionary.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he was a visionary, so he kind of led the team into a direction. So it could be a thing of like they're still able to make the games, but the games overall just vision direction doesn't really have that same flair because that visionary is gone. Or it could be a thing of like, the second in command or whatever is like, all right, now it's my turn, and he has a different vision, and the team supports him, and they go a different direction, and the game actually is fine or whatever. But like as Sean said, we really won't know until we know. All right. Number 4, Sega has canceled Hyenas and some unannounced games in development. This comes from VGC by way of Tom Ivan. All right, yeah. So Sega has canceled their unreleased game called Hyenas. For those who don't know about Hyenas is a first-person shooter. That's really it. And you can watch the trailer. It's one of those things where Sega Sammy, I guess. No, I'm sorry. Creative Assembly is Hyena. That Creative Assembly is the one who created this game. it never looked that appealing, at least to me, at least a lot of people, at least apparently to Sega, because they canceled this game. But yeah, so like it was a first person shooter that was games as a service game.
I barely remember
And
anything about it.
yeah, like the interesting part of the trailer was that there are sections where you can activate 0G, so you'd be like floating around and shooting. And the thing is, like, that's a cool idea, but in practice, shooting in space sucks. So it's just like
Yeah, because
you
we
just
have
gotta set yourself
experience.
up for yeah. And so it's just like, all right, sure. But yeah, it's no longer a thing. So if you were one of these hyenas diehards, pour one out, man. I'm sorry. Oh, another thing to be said, like there was betas for this, and the betas just didn't go too well, so Sega canceled the game. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking at like some articles about it, and they're commenting that it was basically a game made by corporate mandate to appeal to trending, demographic paradigms.
Yeah,
Just
that sounds about right.
trying to catch the wave on stuff.
Yeah. All right. So number 5, Capcom's president wants you to pay even more for your games. This comes from Inside Gamer by way of Grant Taylor Hill. I dislike when websites have the dark backgrounds and don't have their text be just like straight white. They do like a weird gray or something. It's just like,
yeah, they need to consult with you, right?
I know exactly. I won't charge too much. $1 million. Anyways, so yes, Capcom president wants us to pay even more for video games. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So basically, in a recent interview, the president of Capcom, Haruhiro Tsujimoto, there you go, went on record stressing the game development is 100 times more costly than it was back in the Famicom era. Yeah, of course. What? Famicom, there you go. That's it. But the price of software hasn't increased in kind. He therefore believes that the price of games should see a sharp increase to tackle ever rising wages and the overall cost of producing these games. It takes years to build a AAA game now, and the investment needed can be in the hundreds of millions, but software prices still float around $50 to $70.
Yeah.
So that part is interesting because I believe he says 50 to 70 because they don't charge. I don't think Resident Evil Remake was $70. I think it was 60.
I mean,
But yeah,
to his point, and I was thinking about this yesterday while folding clothes, where I get all my thoughts in. So like we just saw
real quick,
pricing.
Resident Evil was $60.
So we just saw a price increase from 60 to 70 for all games. Like if you've been playing video games for a while, 60 was kind of the whole. Like it's always been in my heart an arbitrary number, just agreed upon by the distributors or the developers, the publishers. Like everyone just kind of came together and said, all right, it's this. And that's kind of what happened this time with 70. It took one being 2K, the NBA 2K, and then 2, then 3. Then I was like, all right, we're $70 now. That's the new normal. But in my mind, I know for a fact that there is a disparity in game development between a lot of these $70 games in terms of the price to go behind it. Would it in a different world if there was a market for like fish? Like if games were like fish, if there was like a market value for Spider-Man, right? Like if Spider-Man was priced at a base $90, this 90, it's a $90 experience, and fucking Madden was 70, right? Because it's the same game, same engine, same assets, same animations as the year before. Would we tolerate that? Because this person is coming from like like fuck man, we're not making money. We get like they have their own reasons why their shit should be priced higher, but I don't know what event would make the game industry go that. Would it be a switch to all digital? Would it like what shift?
I mean, if they switch to all digital and they can keep the price at $70, some of that money goes into shipping, printing, packaging, game.
Well, I think the point is like $70 is agreed upon, but no one likes that number. Like people, like developers, publishers wish that we paid more money for these games. Like,
and some consumers are like, why the fuck is it 70 now?
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
If they raise the price, they got to know that they're going to get less sales. It's a number of quantity versus quality at this point because, as you said, people can barely stomach the $60, $70 price point. But
I mean, shoot, if we got paid more, sure, we'll spend more money on games. But like, it's one of those things where it's just like, all right, we understand that you guys are sort of taking a loss, but like, hey, we're also taking a loss when we buy fucking cord. Like, I mean, hey man, like, come on.
That's where the DLC and microtransactions come in to make up on the back end. Because I mean, if you want to compare it to movies, they got some movies with ridiculous budgets compared to others, but we're still paying the same
price.
Then you like as I said with Spider-Man, then you have like this solid state single player games that don't have any type of microtransaction type, format to them.
Not yet.
In the past, Jim Ryan's like, we got to move away from like just these types of games because like we're meeting the cost of production and only marginally doing better than that every time. Like that's not enough growth to really expand that series.
They need to stop throwing, for lack of a better term, horsepower at everything. Back in the days of yore, they made do with what they had as far as learning software tricks to get things done. Look at Mode 7 on the Super Nintendo, what have you. A bunch of different games like Fake 3D. You get what I'm trying to say.
Sean wants us to believe that every game should look like Teardown.
That's
that's
not what I'm saying.
But yeah, I get what Sean's saying.
They need to work on efficiency versus just
the pushing the graphics, like going 8K. We don't need fucking 8K. I think the problem is it's right now we are literally just knee deep. We're waist deep. We're dingling deep in the graphics race. Like everything has to look better, has to look more pretty.
I mean, at this point, we're at the point of diminishing returns.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like
the pursuit for the uncanny valley only works for racers and sports games.
Yeah,
everything else.
That's true. Like we're at the point where like if no studio can take a step back from graphical fidelity. Because they will just immediately, unless it's like an artistic choice, when it's just like, that's the only thing that's Tears of the Kingdom right there. You can't talk about how that game looks. That's just the style of Zelda. But like, the game doesn't look good compared to any game on PlayStation or Xbox. But it's Nintendo. They do the Nintendo thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, it is the developers kind of. I don't know. Everyone's at fault. Like the consumers at fault for like wanting the envelope to be pushed. The developers are at fault for pushing the envelope. The publisher are at fault for marketing the push of the envelope. So it's just like I don't. There's no real like solution to this other than us paying more money, which they can put the price tag on the thing, but all that means is just people are just going to wait for these games to go on sale. And go, drop the 70 or whatever, and then and then eventually it's just going to be like, oh well, this just doesn't work. Or the other thing is one of these developers, one of these publishers say, hey, look, this game is going to cost $100, and people are going to be like,
I mean, they have those rumors going out for GTA 6 right now. I mean, obviously, it's not going to cost $100. That's probably a special edition or some shit.
Oh my god!
Yeah, no. GT7 still costing $70.
Hey, you know what? every game that you buy is a special edition. There you go. Capcom, I've solved your issue. Give me money.
Like what you mean? Like put more content? No, you can't make money off of that. No,
the base edition is a special edition.
You have to trick people in thinking that they're getting more for paying $10 extra for Spider-Man and a thong.
Yeah,
come on.
Right?
It's a new experience that only you can experience by paying us more money.
That's a lot of skin you're getting. So
don't you understand that concept of value?
All right. The next story, number 6, Resident Evil 4 remake will cost $60 on iPhone, specifically the iPhone 15 Pro maximum efficiency. I don't, man. Basically, the
high end iPhone 15.
Yes. This is who is this by? This is by Ashley Bardhan. So the reasoning behind this is Apple wants so Apple 15 can run like high quality games because of their M4 chip or whatever they got going on in that phone.
When the batteries
and essentially you never know. Wait till you make that headshot in Resident Evil 4, you'll see. But so essentially Apple wants to position these games specifically as more than mobile games. So these are essentially I think the PS4 port, the PS4 and Xbox port. Yeah, so these aren't necessarily like mobile games. These are actually high quality like console games, and it's able to run on the iPhone. So that's why you have this cost being so high. Is it going to work? Are people going to spend money on this? I don't think so. I think we're gonna have a couple of people. We're gonna have some YouTubers like buy it, make content, and just kind of be like, oh well, that's it. But in terms of the actual audience, it seems super weird that you would spend $60 on a game on your phone. Well, I guess if you don't have a console, then sure. I don't know. I guess weird.
I mean, but then you have an iPhone 15.
Yeah, right. So. Yeah, and then like if you have a mobile device like that, and that's like your main gaming thing, you're used to playing like mobile games, like a Candy Crush. So it's just like, okay, it's an interesting bet. We'll wait and see if this actually has any. Yeah, that's if Apple actually releases that stuff. Number 7, we have exclusive details from Far Cry 7 story outlined. This comes from Inside Gamer by way of Tom Henderson. So, Inside Gamer learned new details about Ubisoft's next mainline Far Cry entry following our exclusive report in January. Oh, that was pretty far away. The next game, which we'll refer to as Far Cry 7, is internally known as Project Blackbird. It's scheduled to be released in fall 2025. This game will be developed by Ubisoft Montreal and will move away from the
Dunia.
Is it Don or Dune?
Dunia.
Just there you go.
It out.
Engine to Snowdrop. So wait, Snowdrop is. Oh wait, I'm thinking of Frostbite. That's EA, right?
No, Snowdrop is what they use in the Division. That's the Division's engine. Is Snowdrop. Yes.
Okay.
You see it every time you launch it up. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like the last update going into this generation, the volumetric lighting is really good. Like the fogginess. I mean, every game is doing it well now, but Snowdrop does it really good.
Okay. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. So speaking with sources, this is about Far Cry 7. It's understood that the next entry to the series will be a non-linear story, with the story being centered around rescuing the player's kidnapped family. It was said that the game's plot revolves around a wealthy family that has been kidnapped by a conspiracy group currently called the Sons of Truth. Jordan.
Yeah.
What was the name of the groups from the last Far Cry game?
No, it was no. Like you were fighting Gus Fring. Like you weren't fighting a cult. That was 5. Okay. 5 you were following like the children of something. But yeah, like this is
children of okay. Yeah,
4, 5 were cults. essentially, and yeah, this one's going back to cold. So it's nothing too special.
Yeah. So while exact, finite details are subject to change due to the game's stage of development. It was said that the premise of the campaign is for the player to rescue their entire family within a specific time frame. That sounds horrible. Currently, the current in-game timer stands at 72 hours or 24 hours in real time.
That's a lot.
Okay. But the timer can be paused when the player enters one of their safe house. It was said. What do y'all think about this idea?
That's a lot, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been playing Far Cry since 4, and I know exactly how they're going to market this bullshit. They're gonna have a crazy, super charismatic actor give some type of monologue saying that how crazy that they are and how crazy you are, and they can't excite. They're so excited to make you as crazy as them, and then everyone's like, "Oh man, I can't wait to fight that person." And then we'll see them 3 times during the whole campaign. But you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of that Capcom zombie game. What was that called? What to do with the photographer? What was that game called?
Not Dead Island.
Because it had a timer in.
Talking about?
No. It was that Capcom zombie game. Was it Dead Rising? Yeah, Dead Rising. Yeah, Dead Rising had a timer.
Are you talking about the
joint where he was in the mall?
Yeah. He was in the mall. He was in the mall, and he had a timer to beat the game.
Yes.
He had a timer to beat the game, and I never touched it because of that fact. But the kid had a timer to it. Frank West and all that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to read on real quick. Far Cry Dawn Liter's story means the family members do not need to be rescued in order, and some family members can be killed, which has an impact on the story. While details are still a little murky, it is understood that the goal is to take down the Sons of Truth, and in order to complete the game 100%, you'll need to rescue all your family members safely. To find your family members, it was said that Far Cry 7 introduced a new interrogation mechanic to the game, which doesn't necessarily mean you'll get the information you need from the enemy. Sometimes the enemy will give up the information. Sometimes they'll lie, stay quiet, or even sometimes escape, it was said. I mean, this is interesting.
It's not interesting. This sounds boring as shit. And this is coming from
all right, you got me,
a fan of the series. Like, no. I mean, I'm going to end up buying this piece of shit, but at the same time, I know what I'm going to get myself into. This is not pushing the envelope. This is the same fucking game that they've been pushing for the past 3 years. No, past decade since fucking Far Cry 3. So,
I mean, but it's fine. It's just no longer for you. That's kind of like Assassin's Creed. That's kind of like Call of Duty. A lot of these series just add a little thing here or there, and you either like it or you don't. So, I mean,
I'm gonna go ahead and say Ubisoft is in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, they're gonna get bought out by any company, but like they might need to get bought out by a company because like they got Mirage and then they have the other Assassin's Creed game in January, the 2.5D one. But like, man, they got X-Defiant, but who's playing that? I don't know, man. We'll see. Yeah.
As someone
said, it's not bad. It is fine. Like, yes, Sean, you were correct. It is fine. All right. Number 8, Baldur's Gate 3 producer has joined Fable developers Playground Games. This comes from WCCF Tech by way of Francesco de Mio. Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's basically it. One of Baldur's Gate 3 producers joined Playground Games, the British development studio known for Forza Horizon series, which is also working on the next entry to the Fable series. There's not too much. The producer name is Ryan Clark. So yeah, that's awesome. Like it's it can only improve Fable to have one of the producers from Baldur Gate 3 join onto their team to help develop Fable. Like I think this can only benefit Fable.
I mean, it shows how serious Xbox is about this game being successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Xbox does not have the same level of narrative building single player experience that Sony has. And this is supposed to be one of the games that's supposed to break that seal in that genre. Right. So yeah, you better fucking hire this guy. Like shit, bro. But like my thing is, this is different because this is like a third person action adventure game and not what Baldur's Gate is. Baldur's Gate is like this top. Like how's that going to go into it? Like are they coming in for narrative reasons? Or are they coming in for gameplay reasons? Like like that's the real question here.
I think it's like they would be a fool to hire this guy and be like, all right, guy, you're going to not do anything that you've done for Baldur. No, they're absolutely going to hire this guy for like narrative reasons. Like he's a producer, so he's going to procure a lot of things that Fable will need to like, be successful, more successessful. So my question is, when do you guys think that this is going to release? When do you think Fable's going to drop?
2025.
2025.
Yeah, Sean? Like either late 2024, spring 2025.
Mm-hmm. What do you say, Sean?
No, I could agree with that. 2025.
Yeah. I think that makes most sense. Like you have a producer, so he's not a developer. He's not a designer. No. Like he is going to be possibly filling the team with like resources and stuff they can use to better develop this game. So it seems like it makes sense to give it another year or so. We might see it fall 2024, but I think if we see it, it's going to be way more of a like a sit down, like what they did for Starfield. Like, hey, look, this is a 20-minute thing or like 10-minute thing of like, this is what this game is.
Fable Direct.
Yes, exactly.
That's Sarah Bond comes out super jacked. Yay. Yay.
And then number 9, the other part of good news for this pretty just downer of an episode. Counter-Strike 2. Oh, wait. Okay, Counter-Strike 2 is... I forgot the title, guys. Counter-Strike 2 has been released. The actual article is that Counter-Strike 2 players express disappointment as many of the CSGO key features disappear. So this is not necessarily great news. But this could just be real quick because none of us are Counter-Strike players. Essentially, Counter-Strike Go has gone on for such a long time. There is no way that they would include all those features. Like, unfortunately, that's a side effect of having a sequel to a game that's been like running for such a long time. So
when did the CS:GO come out?
It sucks. I think it's been like 10 years or something, right? Am I wrong? I don't know.
The PS what?
Player, guys.
Oh, that's CS:GO.
CS:GO.
Yeah, it's been like
2012 initial release date.
Yeah,
there you go.
It's been a while.
That joints. Oof. I mean, but like shout out for that game, like just being a mainstay on Steam's like player stuff. So that's cool. Yeah, you guys got anything else to say about this? I don't really.
We've hit various levels of capitalism in video games during this whole conversation, to which I would just say capitalism in video games. It's not a charity.
That's about right. That's about right. All right. So
if you have Apple TV, go watch Tetris movie. Very decent. Talks about capitalism and socialism and communism and all that good stuff.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Yeah. Oh, before I forget, the author of this article is Amelia Zollner. There you go. So yeah, that's it for the news. Let us jump into the games that we have been playing. We'll make this pretty quick. Jordan, you have been playing now officially Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. What is your take on this game?
It's more cyberpunk for my cyberpunk. So there's two parts of this, because one part is the 2.0 update. which is like the big update that's available to all gamers, like all people that all PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and PC owners of that game. It was not rolled out. It was not rolled out to
last gen.
Yeah, last gen. Thanks, Sean. And in terms of the improvements, less wavier. Like you're like in terms of character movement, it's less floaty. It's more like I feel like there's more grip and more like my movements are more deliberate. The melee combat
has actually really good news, because that was actually one of the issues that I found, was like jumping and moving just didn't feel as solid as I would expect it to. So that's good to know. That's actually
I don't remember a damn thing about that game.
But the melee combat has improved. They put a lot more emphasis, and they've expanded the capabilities in both, like the Gorilla Fist, the Mantis blades, the katanas, the knives. You have like finishers and stuff, which are pretty dope, and special moves associated with those weapons too. So that's fun. It looks beautiful. It's still, I mean, like, I don't know. It's like after every update, it looks more and more like crazy, especially at nighttime with this game.
Okay.
I'm not having any type of hiccups and frames too much. I do think the new tree is more understandable than the last one. The last one kind of like webbed out, and like you kind of had to explore to see like where I get this versus that, and like you didn't know you wanted something until it was too late. I guess you had to like spend money to respec your stuff. But now the trees are very deliberate in terms of where you were in them, and also the increase in levels has turned my character like just stupidly powerful. Like I should not be able to spec this hard and intelligence, cool, reflexes, and body. Like I'm just like this. I'm a tank of knives. Like I am. Like my character can use the stand devastate and turn invisible. Like it's broken. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And there's no different But as a reminder, I did come into this DLC at the end of my game. I didn't restart it because I mean they said that with the updates they added new dialogue streams and stuff, and they made the structure of the story more, not to say understandable, but more fluid and less of a tonal shift at times. But I'm like, no, I have all my toys, I have all my guns. Let me just get into this now. And I'm switching over from the 2.0 conversation to the Phantom Liberty conversation. This is a great DLC. This is a fun story, like spy thriller with Idris Elba, of course. And the premise is if you saw the trailer, the president is shot down over Night City and lands in this area called Dogtown, which is run by like this mercenary who took it over. NCPD is not a part of it. Nor can I stop in there. They basically had like it's basically Escape from New York, right? They had their own rules in there. Prisoners running the prison.
Oh, okay.
And like it's dirtier. I don't know how much dirtier you can make Night City, but that place is a fucking dump. Like it's like, oh shit. I want to go back to the Glen, But I kept on hearing other reviewers talk about how great Idris Elba's acting was, and it's. I mean, I will say Keanu Reeves, his reads for this DLC. Because he is a part of it. He is like a character within it. His performance is better than Idris's. Idris is, like kind of just doing Sugar Pill for the most part. But I don't know, like I don't know if they've really encapsulated, like the simmering power that Idris Elba can do in his characters. He's more he doesn't come off as like, oh, I can fuck up everyone in a room. He comes off kind of dry and flat, just like an old agent in Night City.
Really?
Just like, I'm done with this shit. But like, he's standing. Like everyone else around him kind of does really good. Like Songbird, who's like this super, like she's basically the president's personal net runner. Other characters that are in the story, like everyone else is like really doing it, but Idris is kind of like a little bit sedated in his performance. I mean, maybe it'll get better, but we'll see. Yeah, no, I'm like 5 hours in, and new weapons. I will say this, and we talked about this a little bit before. Like people are putting in the Starfield versus Cyberpunk comparison. Cyberpunk is doing well when it comes to reducing the amount of clutter in this sim immersive, right? Like, and and before the update, you could find, you know, sex toys, and you can find like just cups and just shit on the ground, junk on the ground that your character pick up and sell it, right? That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Starfield is in many ways the same way. Like, there's stuff all over the place, like pins and pin holders and, you know, like sculptures and stuff like that. It's on the ground, you just pick up and sell it later, but like just junk too. They said, all right, this doesn't really matter that much. So they reduced that variable, and now a lot of the looting feels more impactful. That's what it is. It's like, because like people that struggle with ADHD, like myself, like I, you know, ADHD, obsessive compulsive disorder, like you're gonna feel like you're missing out. And like in Starfield, I'd be in this pirate base for like 20 minutes, just like doing math, you know, and like, now I got to go back to New Jameson or the Citadel to fucking sell these pins that I had to pick up. That's one thing that it does. But they're like two different games, and Cyberpunk is 3 years in, so they were able to really refine their formula and make it, you know, better.
That's what I was gonna say. I feel like the comparison is kind of unfair because Cyberpunk came out, failed spectacularly, and then was given time to improve on itself to get to this point where it's actually a good game now. And it's just like Starfield doesn't necessarily have that same window to be like looked at in the future, essentially. So it's just like, all right, guys, and this is also like, it's a Bethesda game studio game. Like, they always update their stuff all the time, and like by the time the mods really kick in, like the game's gonna look completely different. So it's just like, all right, well, but I understand people making that comparison because these are just two RPGs that are first person shooters. So it's just like, all right, well, let's just compare these two things because they're right next to each other.
I mean, even though Starfield does have a third person mode,
it does, yes,
but you're going to be playing in first person.
Yeah.
I will say this: I had to stop switching between Cyberpunk and Starfield. Well, I can't switch between 60 FPS games and Starfield in general. Because that shit, like going from like Forza Horizon 5 or like any racer to like, I'm like, oh man, this thing is like fucking like Disney, like black and white. Like, oh my god, my eyes. But the main issue between Cyberpunk and Starfield was the button mapping, to which crouch and throwing a grenade have a relationship between those two games, to which B throwing a grenade in Starfield. You know, I'm like, I might be talking to someone, and then I thought impact grenade in their face. I thought I'd be crouching, just dead. And then I'd have a bounty on my fucking head. But but I should be finishing this sometime this week. It's not a long DLC. I'm gonna go to the end to see, because remember they also changed the ending. So I'm gonna see what that chain was, and I'll have an update to that, and then right back to Starfield, right back to my chlorine farming, my water farming.
I would love to be able to jump back into this game and like just see, because like I don't know if I'd buy the DLC, but I'd like to see what like 2.0 looks like and feels like. But like I'll just go ahead and jump into me like, but Baldur's Gate, guys, it continues to impress, excite, and just like surprise me. When Jordan, when you're talking about like numbers and stuff to go back and sell, I had the same thing where like I just obliterated this group of like undead zombies, and I'm looting them, and I was like, oh, bet, okay, all this stuff is worth like 2,000 gold. So I go over to the person to sell the stuff, and I'm like, wait, why is it 1,000 gold? And I had to bring my like awesome accountant of a wife into the conversation, because I was just like, I don't understand what's going on here. And, like, I had a negative discount on the person, and then my character had like a +5 persuasion. I was just like, oh, so I'm actually buying the stuff for less than it costs because my persuasion is affecting the person and they're giving me a discount. But I'm just like, okay, that makes sense, but like the bag was worth 2,000, now it's worth 1,000. What's happening? And then I go into the bag and I look, outside of the person I'm talking to, and it's just like it's worth 60. Like this one item's worth 65 gold. Then I jump into the person, talk to the guy. I want to sell this thing. It's worth 33, and I'm just like, they're setting their own prices separate from what the price actually like is. I'm just like, I didn't even know about it. And this game is so deep. It has so many mechanics that it just doesn't make sense how this is all one game. I ran into a thing where I was in a drinking contest with this like undead, like giant, just huge zombie character, and I was just pretending to drink the pints of ale, and we went like 3 rounds. In the last round, the saving throw I had to make was like 18, which it's a D20. I had like bonuses on that, and it was just like everything rided on it, and I completely failed it. And the guy was like, wait, you didn't drink anything. You've been an imposter this entire time. And he just like destroys the bar, and it just starts a whole giant fight scene. It's just like, this game is so amazing. If you're not playing this game, hey man, just play the game. Just try it out. Sean, just try out the game. Just try out the game, my guy.
It is fun.
Just try it.
Give me a lot of info. I'll download
it. Well, that's the problem, because I'm always playing the game. But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 just continues to be that game. I'm probably, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to beat it before Spider-Man, so I'll probably just put it down and just play Spider-Man.
I'm trying to clear out as much as I can for Spider-Man too. And also fucking Alan Wake. So
Alan Wake, yeah. Oof, that's gonna be another one for y'all. Horror games, I don't do horror games, guys.
I know.
Sean, you got anything you been playing?
I'm just playing Apex, man. Nothing until Spider-Man comes out.
Okay. That's what's up. All right, well, that has been it for the podcast. We hope you enjoyed us talking about these sad times, but also a little bit good news, and also games that we've been playing. Don't forget, you can like this video on YouTube. You can also like the podcast that you're listening to, but it doesn't really do much for us. You can subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Then you can, speaking of listening to this podcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or podcast services you are currently tuned in on. And don't forget, you can join our conversation by joining our Discord at pressx2start.com/Discord. Until next time, play games, you wash your hands, and always remember, if you take that thing out, make sure you're not in public, because you can't go to jail. Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that at all. Right, Jordan?
I don't know why you're asking me. I mean, fuck. That was a weird way to end it. But yeah, don't go for your thing in public.
Exactly. All right. Bye, guys. Oh, I didn't. There we go.